Welcome to our deep dive on using a cash-out refinance to buy your next home before selling your current one. In this video, we will explain how the strategy works, the compliance rules that can trip people up, and the core risks, especially the danger of carrying two mortgages at once. We will also outline safer alternatives, show you how to stress test your budget, and discuss when an ARM might make sense. To keep this practical, we will include diagrams, an example table, and short quizzes.
First, let's set the agenda so you know exactly what's coming.
Here is today's agenda. First, we will describe the buy first, sell later approach using a cash-out refinance. Next, we will cover the 12-month occupancy rule you must comply with. Then, we will focus on managing double debt exposure and your liquidity buffer. After that, we will compare alternatives like HELOCs and bridge loans. Then, we will evaluate an ARM strategy, including its pros and cons. We will also walk through a step-by-step stress test. Finally, we will wrap with key takeaways and a concise summary.
Now, let's start with the big idea behind this strategy.
The core concept is to use a cash-out refinance on your current primary residence to pull out equity as cash. That cash then becomes your down payment on the next home, allowing you to buy first and sell later. This can give you timing flexibility and negotiation power, but it also introduces significant risk. Specifically, you may be obligated to keep your current property as your primary residence for a period after closing, and you may end up carrying two mortgages for longer than expected if the sale gets delayed. Next, let's visualize the overall flow so the moving parts are clear.
Here is the basic flow. First, you refinance your current home with a cash-out refinance and receive proceeds. Next, you apply those proceeds as the down payment on your new primary residence. Then, after you move, you list your old home and attempt to sell it at a favorable price. If the home sells quickly, you can pay down or pay off the refinanced balance and simplify your finances. If it does not sell, you will continue carrying two mortgages, which increases holding costs. Next, we need to talk about a crucial compliance detail, the 12-month occupancy rule, which can be an easy place to make an expensive mistake. A standard cash-out refinance on a primary residence usually requires you to continue occupying that property as your primary home for approximately 12 months after closing. This means you cannot immediately move out, rent the property, or attempt to sell it without potentially violating the mortgage agreement. If you anticipate needing access to funds without that occupancy constraint, a HELOC or a dedicated bridge loan may be more appropriate, even if their interest rates are higher. Carefully document your intent and timeline, and consult your lender about any edge cases. Now that we have the compliance piece in view, let's compare your funding options head-to-head. On the left, a cash-out refinance may offer a larger lump sum and potentially a lower initial rate, but it comes with a 12-month occupancy requirement and standard closing costs and timelines. On the right, a HELOC or a bridge loan can provide more flexibility, especially regarding occupancy. However, these often come with higher interest rates and fees. Choosing between them depends on your need for speed, your tolerance for carrying costs, and your compliance constraints. Next, we will tackle the most immediate danger in this entire plan: managing two mortgages at the same time. The single biggest risk is carrying two full housing payments at once. To manage this, build a liquidity buffer that can cover 6 to 12 months of both mortgages and all related costs, including property taxes, insurance, HOA dues, and utilities. Next, model slow sale scenarios such as price reductions, extended days on market, and seasonal dips in demand. Keep an eye on your debt-to-income ratio and reserves in case underwriting changes or unexpected costs arise. Finally, define contingency plans, such as renting the property temporarily if allowed, negotiating a rate buy-down, or setting price adjustment thresholds so you can move quickly. With the risk front and center, let's visualize the overall transaction timeline to internalize the moving parts. This sequence diagram will show the order and interaction among the buyer, lender, agent, and the market. It starts with the buyer applying for a cash-out refinance, followed by underwriting and closing. The buyer then receives proceeds and makes an offer on the new home, with the agent negotiating terms. After the new home closes and the move happens, the agent lists the old homes. The market then dictates the pace. A fast offer allows a quick sale and payoff, while a slow sale forces extended double payments and possibly price adjustments, or a rental fallback if allowed.
Risk points include carrying 2 payments and adhering to the occupancy rule.
Next, let's walk through a step-by-step framework to stress test your numbers.
Follow these steps to stress test your plan. First, gather all payment inputs for both properties, including principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, plus HOA dues, utilities, and normal maintenance. Next, estimate your anticipated sale timeline and a worst-case scenario. Then, model interest rate shocks, particularly if you are considering an ARM with a potential reset. Include friction costs like staging, repairs, buyer concessions, and plausible price reductions. Calculate a cash runway sufficient to cover 6 to 12 months of total carrying costs. Finally, establish go or no-go triggers, such as maximum days on market, minimum acceptable net proceeds, and rental fallback criteria if permitted. With the stress test outlined, let's look at when an ARM can be a calculated move and when it becomes a gamble. An adjustable rate mortgage may offer a lower initial rate, reducing your carrying costs while you hold 2 homes. The trade-off is uncertainty. Once the fixed period ends, the rate can reset, and your payment may jump. Consider an ARM only if you are highly confident the old home will sell within the ARM's fixed period, such as 5 or 7 years, and if you can handle the worst-case reset scenario. Always model the highest possible payment and verify that it remains affordable under stress.
To make the numbers more tangible, let's review a sample cash buffer calculation.
This illustrative example shows how quickly carrying costs add up. The old home's all-in payment is $2,300 per month, and the new home's is $3,200 per month. Adding $400 for HOA and maintenance and $250 for utilities yields a total monthly carrying cost of $6,150. A 6-month buffer would require $36,900, while a 12-month buffer would require $73,800. These figures are for illustration only. Plug in your own values and remember to include taxes, insurance, and any other recurring costs. With the numbers in mind, let's test your understanding with a quick quiz. Question: what is the most immediate risk of using a cash-out refinance to buy your next home before selling the current one? Options: carrying 2 full housing payments at once, an appraisal coming in slightly low, home insurance non-renewal, unexpected HOA committee fees. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is carrying 2 full housing payments at once. This dual obligation creates the core financial exposure and requires a substantial liquidity buffer to manage safely. Next, let's quiz your knowledge of the 12-month occupancy rule. Question: under the typical 12-month occupancy rule for a standard cash-out refinance, which statement is most accurate? Options: you must continue occupying the refinance property as your primary residence for about 12 months after closing. You can immediately move out and rent with no restrictions. You can sell within 30 days if you notify the lender. Or, the rule applies only to adjustable rate mortgages. You may pause the video now to think about the answer. We will discuss the answer in the next section of the video. The correct answer is that you must continue occupying the refinance property as your primary residence for about 12 months after closing. Moving out or renting too soon may violate your mortgage terms.
Now, let's consolidate the key points so you can take action with clarity.
Here are the key takeaways. A cash-out refinance can unlock the down payment for your next home, but brings compliance requirements and liquidity risks. Build a 6 to 12-month runway covering both mortgages and all related costs. If the occupancy rule constrains your timeline, evaluate a HELOC or a bridge loan. An ARM can reduce holding costs initially, but only if you can tolerate the worst-case reset. Always model downside scenarios before committing. Next, we will summarize and offer a quick decision checklist. Here is the decision summary. Proceed only if you can fund 6 to 12 months of total carrying costs. Confirm the 12-month occupancy rule with your lender and document your intent. Stress test worst-case sale timelines and adjustable rate mortgage resets. Consider a HELOC or bridge loan if occupancy or timing makes a cash-out refinance impractical. Finally, define exit triggers for price reductions, rental fallback, or time limits.
Before we close, please review the disclaimer.
This content is educational and not financial, legal, or tax advice.
Mortgage requirements, rates,
Underwriting standards and regulations vary by jurisdiction and change over time. Consult a qualified loan officer, financial planner, tax professional, and real estate attorney for advice specific to your situation. Verify all terms with your lender before acting. Now let's wrap up with a quick call to action. Thank you for watching. If this was helpful, please like the video, share it with someone who might benefit, and subscribe to the channel. Tell us your toughest buy first, sell later scenario in the comments. We might analyze it in a future video. See you next time.